Quinn.
Good morning.
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 Hello, Gwen.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
There you go. Good morning. How's everybody? I'm going to go on silent because I'm in South Carolina. And everybody can, let me see how I can make this work. Let me see.
Morning, Rich. We appreciate it.
Okay. I'm going to try to figure out. How do I make this thing go back on?
I'm not sure how much technical assistance we can offer from on the other side of the country.
I'm telling you.
But let us know.
Whoever the host is of the meeting should be able to mute him.
Can you see me? In the back seat right there is our new Army recruiter. He graduated. So everybody can wish him a congratulations. That's what I'm doing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
There you go. Good point.
Well, good morning, everybody. We'll wait a couple more minutes as people are still filtering in. Okay, I think we've got the majority of folks. Some may still be dribbling in. We'll wait a couple more minutes here. How's everybody doing this morning?
Great.
So far, so good.
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Okay, in the interest of time, we will get this party started. Got 34 participants this morning, and appreciate everybody's time and welcome you all to this kickoff meeting for our coordinated city fee update proposal meeting. My name is Brian McLean. I'm the Director of Public Works, and before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. First, the meeting is being recorded. And second, if you'll please ensure that you have your mute on, that will help reduce any of the background noise during the meeting. I don't want to have to mute you myself, but the hand of Zoom may reach out on you. This is a kickoff meeting and an introduction to the various proposed fee topic update areas, including the development review process improvements, the chapter 11.01 of our municipal code related to development impact fee ordinance, our city service and fee schedule update, and the proposed 2025 development fee impact fee, the DIF update. As there are several topics to cover, and being mindful of your time this morning, the city has consolidated these topics to ensure that there is a more comprehensive understanding of the various fees that are being proposed. Today is an introductory to these proposed fees. And before the end of the day today, or excuse me, tomorrow, you will receive an email link with the supporting documentation, which will allow you to more thoroughly review the various topic areas that we'll be speaking about today. And I'll provide more information about those details at the end of this meeting. Again, this is an introductory meeting, and it will be followed by 3 hybrid public outreach meetings, which will allow you to make comments, ask questions, and otherwise provide an opportunity for your input and your opinions. We value your opinions. They are absolutely vital and important to this process. So again, I appreciate you being involved in this kickoff today. At the end of today's meeting, we will go through those details and I'll provide you some information about those upcoming hybrid public meetings. At this time, if there are no questions, or if there are questions, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature, and I'll call upon you to unmute, and you will have the floor at that point. At this point, I'd like to introduce our presenters for today's meeting, and I'm going to start with the Director of Community Development, Aaron Morris.
Hi, everyone.
Ken,
Morning.
Gwen,
Good morning. Actually, EPS will be doing the diff update for the city, and that will be Typhoon.
and Typhoon. All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen, and we will start with the first topic, which is the development review process improvements. And can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Can you get it into slideshow mode? There we go. Okay. So we covered that. And here's, so we're going to start off this meeting with an update on the city's development review process improvement initiative. So this topic's actually not about fees. It's about the city of Vacaville's interest in improving how we do business with our development customers, how we create greater predictability and a greater sense of expected outcomes in the process. So this project actually stems from the City Council strategic plan that was adopted 4 or 5 years ago. They identified the need to improve the efficiency of the development review process, recognizing that this is one of the key ways as a city that we can help strengthen our local economy. We kicked off this effort in July of 2024, and as I was looking at who's in this meeting, many of you as development review regular customers were actually interviewed by our consultant, and with a consultant also interviewed every director who does development review functions for the city, the customers, and also key staff members that work in this process as part of shaping their understanding of what's going well, what's not going well, and what are the opportunities for improvement. Back in October of last year, we did process mapping, and we literally mapped out our current development review process from the planning phase to the building permit phase, all the phases, because that's kind of how you start to understand where there are pinch points and problems and issues that need to be addressed. Earlier this year in February, we had a process improvement workshop where our staff worked through fixing 2 key business areas, again, that we thought were the most important for making everything easier for our customers. Right now, I'm going to be able to present a portion of the final report that our consultant Baker Tilly is providing to us, but I don't yet have the final report in my hands. So I just want to let everyone know I'm going to give you a vignette of some of those findings pretty quickly, but we're going to be sharing the entire consultant report, the process maps, the workshop results, and everything. And then the other thing we're going to be able to share by next month, I'm thinking early next month, is a draft action plan. And we're going to be asking you as customers for your feedback. Like if the city does these 5 things, like makes these 5 things a priority, is that going to make a difference for you in your working with the city to get things done? So it might be 10 things, it could be 7. We're still working through that of what we can commit to doing relatively quickly, what things might take a little longer. But again, all around trying to achieve desired outcomes. So I'm going to go through this next 2 slides pretty quickly. The next slide, I want to share the 11 observations that the consultants put together. And I'm not going to read every word, but I guess I want to let you know this is in the report. This report will be public, and I don't think you'll be surprised by a lot of the things that they found. So generally, they found that some of our operations occur in a siloed manner within the city of Vacaville. Again, I don't think any of us would disagree about that. They found that our current staffing levels do not meet our current workload. There's a perception, mostly outside perception, some inside perception, that there's a lack of training. And in a lot of cases, there's an inability for staff at lower levels of the organization to make decisions that would be, if they could be made timely, they would help drive projects forward. We did get positive feedback, and we appreciated it, that people generally thought that our staff intends to provide good customer service. And that was something that maybe is a little bit different from some of these other ones I've worked on in other cities. But they also, of course, saw some need to improve our customer service. Continuing on, the subjectivity and inconsistency in the interpretation of codes and regulations between departments and even staff within certain divisions. And then pro-development pressures causing a breakdown, meaning like staff is told go do something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we achieve the desired outcome because maybe things kind of fall apart. Go to the next slide, please. And the application intake process is not clearly defined. This number 8 is probably the one I hear the most about, that the way we calculate fees and when we calculate fees really frustrates our customers. You just want to know how much you need to pay us so that you can get your permit and move forward. There's a need to further define processes and timelines. We should be using our tracking system consistently across all departments and divisions so that we all have information in the same system, and that there's a perception we have a lack of online systems and tools. These are the 11 key observations. There's a lot more verbiage in the report. And again, that report will be available to all of you later this month at the latest. Can you go to the next slide, please? So these are our next steps. In the report, the consultant recommended 24 action items, and they prioritize them based on kind of the things they think we can do quickly, the things that will take longer. We're looking at their draft recommended action item, and we'll be bringing forward a public draft of what we think sort of the marching order should be for staff. And that's what we'll be sharing with you in the months ahead. They have a lot of recommendations that have to do with internal staffing and relationship stuff that I don't know. I think you all know that that's important, but that's not what provides an actionable positive result for you as customers. So that's what we're working on, as an action plan that's tailored around the customer experience. And then we'll be bringing this out to you. We'll be sharing what we think the next step should be. We'll be asking for your input. And my goal is to get this thing to council before the end of the fiscal year so they can get the fullness of the report, hear from you, hopefully embrace the action plan or give us direction on anything else they want us to do. And then we'll move forward into implementation of the process improvement. So again, all the report, the action plan, I will have it on the city's webpage by April 30th. And then at the subsequent meetings that Director McLean referred to, we'll have an opportunity to check in on this topic. And if we need to have a spinoff meeting, we can have a spinoff meeting. But my goal again is transparency and collaboration to come up with an action plan that will really improve your experience doing business with the city of Vacaville. So that's my presentation, I believe, on this item.
And great, thank you, Aaron. We're going to transition now to the second topic, which is the proposed chapter 11.01 development impact or fee ordinance update.
Thank you, Brian. So we have a development impact fee ordinance. It's chapter 11.1, and it was largely written in 1992. And it's had a couple tactical amendments over the years, but it's pretty outdated. So the gist of this project was, first, we want to make sure the city of Vacaville is complying with the Mitigation Fee Act. And so I don't want to go into detail on this because it gets very nerdy and lawyerly very quickly. But the other goal, in addition to complying with the law and having an ordinance that clearly does that, we also want to make the ordinance more user-friendly. It was written in the 90s, where we go at length about all the things we do on the inside to make these things happen. The goal was sort of streamline it for clarity, get it into compliance with the law, and not have so many duplicative sections. And so if we go to the next slide, I'm not going to go through the ordinance in this meeting or the summary of changes. It's a lot of detail, but I want to encourage you, the way the city fees projects is obviously very important to the development community. The draft ordinance in its entirety, but more importantly, a summary of the changes that kind of go section by section, plus a PDF of the old ordinance will be on our webpage by the end of today, early tomorrow. We are also working on developing some fee scenarios that illustrate, if you have a project under the current fee schedule, what would the fees be in the current ordinance and what would they be in the new ordinance? And our goal is to demonstrate to you how the new ordinance would affect projects. We really are going to welcome questions and comments once you have a chance to get into the nitty-gritty and go through the summary of changes. We're going to look for your feedback. Our goal is to be able to present a draft ordinance to the council for a first reading in June of 25, a second reading thereafter, and then that this ordinance would go into effect later this summer. So this one, I'm really going to be excited to have other people looking at it. We've been working on it for the last couple of years. Please know that I will be very excited to hear your questions and comments. And if there's anything that causes alarm or concern, we need to know that, because our goal is actually to not create alarm or concern. I believe that wraps up my second of two presentations.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Brian.
So we're going to move on to the next topic area, the proposed city service and fee schedule update. And I'm going to introduce Ken Matsumiya, our Director of Finance.
Thanks, Brian. Next slide, please. So in addition to the development impact fee work being done, City is also updating its service and facility rental fee schedule. And so this fee schedule covers the range of services provided by the department citywide, from alarm registrations at the police department to those that are more development specific, like building permits, plan checks, and inspections. And the purpose of the fee schedule is to adequately cover or recover all, or in some cases, a portion of the cost of providing the service, so that it's not subsidized by non-users. Next slide, please. So in order to update the fee schedule, cost of service or user fee study needs to be completed. At a high level, just to explain the process for these studies. This is done by an outside consultant. They begin by identifying the current or potential fees for service by looking at existing fee schedules and discussing with staff kind of current service levels. And modifications are made, such as eliminating obsolete fees from the last study. And they're made to streamline the fee schedule to best reflect the services that are being provided currently by each department and division. Time estimates are gathered for every person involved in the service, including admin staff and support from outside departments. These estimates are then used to calculate the full cost of providing each unit of service. And then those results are shared with staff and management, and then cost recovery goals are discussed and assessed with consideration of what that impact is going to be to the community. And then as a best practice, these studies are typically done, every 5 years. The last one that was done by the city, as you can see, is in 2017. And so the city is due for an update In the interim, we have been applying the Bay Area CPI, so that's also known as the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward CPI. And then as you'll see in the next slide, CPI hasn't really been keeping up with the service or the cost of service. And so for the current study, it is close to completion. I don't have the details to share in this, but then in the upcoming meetings, the outreach meetings, and you'll get more of that detail, and we'll also be posting it on the website. And we anticipate that report on the website is going to be made available by the end of this month. So for the study that we're working on, it's going to include the city's current budget to estimate the cost of service. The user fees that are charged by the city, they can't exceed the reasonable cost of providing the service. So this is, by law, we cannot make a profit on them. It can only be to the full extent to only cover the reasonable cost. Since these studies are a snapshot in time, there may be some fees that can be reduced if the time and cost of providing that service is lower than the previous study. But generally, when you do these studies, what you'll find is that the cost of service delivery has actually exceeded the CPI factor that normally gets applied to these fees. And you'll see this in the report. There's going to be sections where it talks about how much revenue the city currently collects, what the cost of providing that service is, and then in those cases, what that subsidy is for those particular services. The report's also going to contain a comparison of select fees to other cities as well. And then, as I mentioned, the study is still in progress, but once it's completed, we'll post it on our website, the full study, as well as an overview of the fees, what's changed since the last study, and then most importantly, how to provide feedback from the public. Next slide. I'll pass it back to Brian.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, so the next section that we're going to go through, Typhion from EPS will be leading this one. This is the proposed 2025 Development Impact Fee Update.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Brian. So yeah, got a short presentation for you here on the diff update, broken down into a few sections, purpose of diffs and why the city's updating them at this time. We want to tell you about some of the changes to the single family fee structure that are envisioned, give you an overview of the percentage fee changes to most of the fee programs if the new fees were adopted at the maximum level. Talk a little bit about the reasons for the fee changes, and then highlight some of the kind of policy issues that council and others will likely want to grapple with. Next slide, please. So I think most of you on this call are very familiar with impact fees, but of course they're one-time charges on new development that are imposed to help ensure that the city can fund infrastructure and public facilities necessary to accommodate the new growth and again offset costs incurred by the city to do so. The fees themselves, as was just mentioned, depend on the project, the fee schedule, and their application. So they'll obviously ultimately vary by size and project type. Next slide, please. So why are we doing a 2025 diff update when we just did one, we did one 3 years ago in 2022? The main reason is because the 2022 update did not incorporate really up-to-date cost estimates. A lot of those estimates that were in that study were older, from 2018, and some facilities earlier than that. And so there was a kind of a strong sense that we needed to have, if we're going to have enough funding, enough revenues to fund these facilities, we need to adjust the cost, get the cost up to the current cost of the city faces to make sure that the fee program can function appropriately. That was the main reason. There was also back in 2022, and we did this, we were moving quickly, and so hadn't fully incorporated all of the different parks and recreation facilities and other needs from that department into it. So that's also been adjusted. The parks fee has been adjusted both for cost increases, but also for that expansion of facility types. And then finally, under AB 602, now we're past the adoption of AB 602. We wanted to make sure that we adjusted the way in which the fees were implemented, in particular on a single family residential development, to shift towards a per square foot basis. Next slide, please, Brian. So just to talk about the single family fee structural changes to begin with, as you'll probably remember, prior to 2022, single family fees were just flat per unit fees independent of size. We spent a bunch of time at that During that fee update, basically determining some fee size bands and then differentiating the fee. So there was some level of fee differentiation by home size. What AB 602 requests of jurisdictions, California jurisdictions, is to shift to a per square foot fee. So to get rid of the bands, shift to a per square foot fee where possible. And so we've made that change to most of the fee programs with the exception of drainage, sewer, and water, some of which are not covered under AB 602, but perhaps more importantly, based on the consulting experts in those arenas, it's a lot harder to, because for example, water is done by water meter, it's a lot harder to charge a fee on a per square foot basis. Next slide, please. And then one other kind of nuance here within the transportation fee, we made a further adjustment. So rather than just having one per square foot fee, the transportation consultants were able to kind of identify a differentiation in transportation demand between single family detached and single family attached. So the single family attached development also is done on a per square foot fee, but it's like base per square foot fee is lower than that for single family detached, with the hope that in addition to the per square fee component, this will also act as an incentive for what some people call missing middle housing products. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so here you see the substantial fee increases, or at least a snapshot of the substantial scale of the fee increases that arise or between the existing fees and the draft 2025 maximum justifiable fees. Setting aside the Parks and Recreation fees for a minute, you can see that most fee levels are jumping between 50% to 125%. So many of them are doubling, some of them are coming close to doubling. And as mentioned earlier, this is pretty much completely driven by increases in the cost estimates. And I believe, like with some of the other studies that were mentioned, we will be getting to you the detailed calculations of these fees so you can see exactly how the cost units change and how it will drive or might drive those fee changes. On the Parks and Recreation fee, you can see a very large increase. This again is partially due to cost changes, but also due to the inclusion of a large array of additional recreational facilities in the mix. I wanted to also note that the water and sewer fees are still in progress. We should have those for you soon. From the early numbers that I've seen, the increases in those fees will not be as high as these others, but there will be further increases. Next slide, please, Brian. So, why are these fee increases so significant? Again, it comes down to cost, and I don't think I need to explain to you all exactly, the drivers of the cost increases. But given that we were working with cost data from a while back, I think we're all familiar with the cost inflation and the impacts of the pandemic and the supply chain issues and the labor costs, regulatory changes, and many others, and perhaps more uncertainty to come. So these are now estimates of the cost in 2025, but they are substantially higher than those costs that we were using in 2022, and that's really what's driven those rather large fee increases that you saw. And again, Parks and Rec is a little bit different in that it has both additional facilities and increase in costs. Next slide, please, Brian. So finally, obviously there's going to be some important conversations, some review of documents and some feedback. I think at a high level, three of the conversations, I think, and options on the table for the diff fee include changing the level of service, and in effect, removing capital projects in order to, if that's again the direction folks want to go in, to reduce the fee level. We do have the possibility, the city does have the possibility of adopting fees below the maximum fee level without any change in the level of service. But then the city is, of course, taking on that kind of funding gap responsibility, which might be a challenging situation for them. And then third, like with, I think, the 2022 update, there are options to phase in fee increases gradually over time, so it doesn't have such a major one-time impact. And that's the end of the fee update, Brian.
Perfect. Thank you, Typhon. So in terms of meeting next steps, that's essentially the close of this introductory meeting. Those were the topic areas, and this is not the end. We still have additional public meetings and hybrid public meetings that will be entertaining and bringing invitations out to you all as well as to a broader public. To note, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the presentation, we will be sending everyone on this Zoom call by the end of day tomorrow. You'll get an email from the city along with links to the various documents and supporting documents associated with each of the topic areas that went through today by the presenters. There will be 3 additional public meetings, though they will be hybrid meetings. So they can, if you would like to come to City Hall in person or attend the meetings by Zoom, you're more than welcome. Again, they will be here at City Hall in Conference Room AB. The first meeting will be on April 28th, followed by May 15th, and then May 20th. Again, when we get to a little bit closer to the first hybrid meeting, we will be sending out an invitation for that particular meeting, along with, again, links to all of the various supporting documents and any other of the relevant materials. So I want to say from myself, as well as the team, we're super happy to see you all here today. Glad you attended. We look forward to seeing you during the hybrid meetings and having a dialogue about the various proposed fee updates, taking that dialogue and being able to work through the various potential changes that may occur, and later finally coming to City Council, which we anticipate to be in June of this year. So right now we're looking at June 10th for the city service and fee updates, as well as the process improvements presentation and updates. And then later in second meeting in June, that would be the 24th, we would be looking at bringing the development impact fee update to the City Council for their consideration and approval. So that concludes our presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Brian, or
Todd?
more of a, I guess, a recommendation. When you're doing the next time you visit the fee increase discussion, it would be helpful to maybe take a sample of what a standard single-family housing building permit and development impact fee permit would look like, somewhere around, let's say, $85,000 to pull that permit and build a house, and what the increase would look like. So if you could do a side-by-side comparison and show that, that would be helpful.
Run a scenario. That's a great option. Thank you, Todd.
And excuse me, this is Gwen. That actually is included in the fee study. The current study that's going to be released won't have sewer and water because we still need to add those in, but it'll have to be determined for sewer and water. And then relatively quickly, we will be reissuing that report with the sewer and water fees. And so it will have a total amount.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Jeb, I see you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, thank you for the good presentation. Obviously, anytime we see fee increases as a developer, it's very concerning, especially when we're trying to produce, a lot of entry-level missing middle housing. So obviously, I hope the city is recognizing as well that that is a potential pathway to slow growth substantially as well, because developers like us will have to then wait for pricing or expect landowners to reduce their price accordingly to be able to achieve similar outcomes. With that being stated, obviously as a master developer, as Todd and I work for, we generally will install things like park and recreation facilities. And while we're very curious to see what those expanded services are, will there be established rates as well corresponding with the fee increases for park fee credits and offsets for infrastructure that the developers install that are kind of pari passu with these fee increases as well, such that if the cost with the fees are higher than the ones we actually put in, I would advise the city also establish rates or seek to establish rates so there's a similar and equalization of the types of development costs that we entertain as fee credit offsets with the fees themselves. So is that going to be an established rate, or is that something that could be considered, or how do you view, Brian, that coming into play, or any of the other parties here?
I think that's a great question, Jeb. We're taking your comments, and that's something that the city team here will go back and evaluate. I think it's an absolutely a fantastic concept. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
Oh, Brian, Chris Robles here. Question, the development impact fees are all going to be based off of improvements that the city is considering. Will there be a validation process for the CIPs to determine whether the items that you have in public works, parks, and other improvements, that they are appropriate and relevant for the city today?
I'm going to kick that over to Gwen.
So basically for the traffic impact fee, what we did is we have improvements that are identified in the general plan. And then we also have identified improvements based upon the general plan level of service that's identified citywide. These are the same improvements that were in the 2022 impact fee. There will be a traffic study that identifies all the improvements. It has layouts for each of the improvements, cost estimates for each of the improvements. For the
And I
parks
think
and-
there was some issue with some of those last time around, that the cost benefit of those is questionable. So my point is not to just go with the general plan, but to evaluate each and every improvement to right size it and to try to be as efficient in the cost as possible. I know there's some items in there that are basically fluff, if you will, that the projects that are very unlikely to ever be built, and those have a cost, and they have an influence on the impact fee. So my request would be to do an evaluation and validation of all of your improvements proposed to be built with development impact fees.
And not to go to like a deep dive on this, and we can have more conversations after you had a chance to review the report. Last time what we did was we did an evaluation for basically a cost benefit. And so we identified projects that were removed based upon cost benefit. There are two other large construction projects that are identified in the general plan. And what we did for that is we only funded design and right of way for those two projects and didn't include construction. That's what we did last time. We mirrored that the same time. And so once you have an opportunity to look at the traffic impact evaluation, when you have specific questions, we can go through all of those. The way we have it set up is for the 2022 report, all the background information is there and basically the cost benefit analysis, et cetera. What will be produced and put on for the 2025 diff is only the new information. So I'm not recreating all of the stuff that I created before. For Parks and Rec, it's basically based upon the Parks and Rec master plan. And so there's certain park facilities, improvements, et cetera. So those will be identified and, we're open to conversations with that.
Yeah, I think council probably would want to look at that again. Your fee almost tripled last time around, and now you're looking at doing that again. So I think that whether all of those improvements are relevant or not is subject to question. The last question I have for you today would be, is there an assumed timeline for absorption, or are you assuming full build out of the city to spread the cost of the development impact fees?
So basically what the land use is the build out of the city minus the northeast area. Though when the land use east of Leisure Town Road, that is currently assumed as you know, going to be built is less than what will actually be built because there's a specific plan that's moving forward for east of Leisure Town Road, that they have other developments that we didn't have assumptions. So basically, when the specific plan comes through for east of Leisure Town Road, and then also ultimately the northeast area, the development impact fee will have to be right-sized to incorporate those. And how that will actually work is to be determined once we get to that point, because number one, we don't know what the improvements are, we don't know the costs, et cetera, or we don't even know what the land use is gonna be, because my understanding is the specific plan is still at a very early age or stage.
So you'll, for purposes of residential, you'll be spreading it over the existing 9,000 units plus east of Leisure Town at some point in time.
Correct. Once the specific plan land use is approved by city council, we know what that's going to be. We know what the improvements will be. The impact fee will need to be updated at that particular time. And that actually is included as part of the East of Leisure Town Road scope of work that is being moving forward.
But for the purposes of the fee now, you're assuming the 9,000 units that have been already approved.
We're assuming what's been approved, basically. So it's Brighton Landing, Roberts Ranch, the farms, and I believe we also have the fields in there.
Great question, Chris. Okay, well, I don't see any
Thank you.
more hands raised. Are there any other questions? All right, well, stay tuned for an email for those links to those, again, those supporting documents. We'll make sure that we get those out to you by end of day tomorrow. And then further, again, there will be another email that we will reach out to you for the April 28th hybrid public meeting. And so the city team here and myself, we look forward to seeing you at those public meetings. And if you have any questions, of course, you have, well, actually, I'll put my email out there. See if we can share the screen here. No, maybe not. I will make sure that an email goes out with our contact information in case there's any additional questions. But I appreciate everybody showing up today and getting the time on their calendars. We'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Typhoon, thank you.
Thank you much.
You
All
bet.
right.
See you, Rich. Have a good day.
All right. Look forward to meeting with you. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. See how I get out of this now.
The red button
Brian.
that said end.
The red button that says end. Yeah, well, I'm